This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tim.
I'm your other guest host, Andrew.
That's right, folks. Returning for his second stint as guest host on The Complete Guide to Everything from the hit podcast, Punch Up the Jam, and the Gregory Brothers. Here he is, Andrew Gregory. I mean, you just said your name. I guess everybody knows who you are.
Well, I didn't say my last name, though. No, I know that you've taken great pains to keep your name secret, Tim. But if I slip and accidentally call you Timothy during the podcast, is that okay? Will that give
we'll
away...
bleep that. I'll bleep the oath of that.
Okay, I know you've taken great pains to make sure your fans don't know your real name is Timothy and not Tim.
Yeah, that's more editing work I have to do now. Thank you for that, Andrew.
I don't want to pimp my podcast out too much, Tim, but I will say our podcast is the only podcast that has made an explicit pledge to never say that we're going to edit something out and then not edit it out later.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
we made that pledge the first episode.
This show's been going since 2009, so that was like a novel. That was a fresh joke when we started. Doing it.
You guys probably invented that joke.
We're grandfathered in. We do all this stuff. Hey, a hangout podcast of two guys talking about nothing for about an hour. Yeah, you can't launch one of those in 2022. 2009, the biggest thing in freaking podcasting. So
these guys are just hanging out.
They're like
turn up the dial. Turn up the radio dial. What? It's not on a radio dial?
Yeah, blew people's minds. Andrew, Tom and I walked so you and Evan could run, basically. So you're welcome.
Okay, you're right. I shouldn't be busting your chops.
Let me just address Tom. It was supposed to be back. He had the audacity to go get COVID. So, So Andrew is ably stepping in here. Thank you for doing this. We are doing this remote.
Yes. Yeah, and I have to admit, at first I was going to come over to your apartment and do it, Tim, and I was like, yeah. If we're doing it at Tim's apartment, yeah, no way Tom can come over. This makes a lot of sense. I'm guest hosting, but now that we're doing it remote, it's just when we were starting, I was like, I guess Tim's just. I guess Timothy's just really, really tired of Tom because he's doing it remote with me. He could have been doing it remote with Tom.
Could have been doing it remote with.
But hey, I listen to the podcast. I already know how tired you are, Tom.
Hey, the man is sick. We shouldn't be talking about this.
You're right. You never speak ill of the sick. That's the old saying.
Never speak ill of the ill. They got enough ill going on.
That's a much better saying than mine.
All right. Well, you were here at a very exciting time, Andrew, and I don't think you knew this until a couple hours ago. But every October here on The Complete Guide to Everything, it's not October. It's freaking Halloween month.
No, a whole month?
A whole month of Halloween-themed, spooky-themed topics.
Wow.
Knock your socks off. Terrifying topics like the 1966 cartoon TV special, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Very scary. Very scary.
Yeah. We've done Bones in the past. We did an episode about Bones, not the TV show, the actual bones.
Like bones in your body.
Yeah, but like skeletons. So that's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The Devil. There was one. There was an episode I think a year or two ago where Tom and I actually went to hell.
No.
So Halloween month.
It's pretty
Andrew,
scary.
Yes, it's pretty scary. So thank you for joining, for being brave enough to join during Halloween month.
I mean, you asked me in September. Today is October 1st. if I'd known what I was getting myself into when you asked me on September 27th,
You had no
I
idea.
might have said no. We almost recorded yesterday.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have been talking spooky stuff.
Are you a spooky boy? Are you a Halloween guy?
I used to watch. I feel like I grew up a spooky boy. I used to watch so many horror movies, so many bad horror movies in high school. Obsessed. I've seen the movie, in my opinion, the scariest movie in the history of movies, The Dentist 2.
The Dentist 2?
You've not seen a scary movie until you watch The Dentist 2, because the advances they made in the mouth cam technology between The Dentist 1 and The Dentist 2 were just truly, truly, truly disturbing, distressing, awful.
What year did
awful.
The Dentist 2 come out?
I would estimate 1993, but it had a name actor as the dentist. It had it had a high enough budget to have an actor you have heard of playing
Dentist Quaid.
Yes, it was Dentist Quaid. It was Corbin Burnson.
Oh, all right.
Corbin Burnson just torturing people in their mouths.
Hot off Major League 3, back to the minors or whatever.
And weirdly, maybe this isn't that weird. Just as an adult, I'm just like, why would I watch a scary movie? Why would I do that to myself? Like people, my sister-in-law is really into that scary movie Mandy. In the desert with the lady, and she's like, "You guys gotta watch Mandy," and we're just like, "Yeah, we're gonna rewatch a Christopher Guest mockumentary."
Yeah, I don't want to be scared. I'm scared of everything in real life, everything that I encounter day to day. It scares the hell out of me. Why do I want some?
I'm scared enough of how tall they've made the hood on Ford F-150s. That if you're driving a Ford F-150, you can't see anyone shorter than 5 feet tall. That's scary. That's a scary thing about American society.
Yeah,
I don't have to be worrying about. I didn't even see. Jordan Peele. I loved his first 2 movies. Didn't even go see his 3rd movie. Just came out.
You didn't.
Just straight up skipped it. I was like, seems.
What
scary.
Did you say? Hey, what did you say? What was your one word assessment of whether you're going to go see that movie?
It was no way.
Yep,
no
exactly.
way.
Yeah.
And I then like the reviews, like the chatter hit, and it was like, actually not that scary, not that spooky, mostly a movie about animals. And I was like, nope, still not going to see it.
Yeah. I feel like ever since my wife and I had a child, I'm especially like, I don't want to be reminded of what can be terrifying in this world.
Yeah. Were you ever? Are you like me? Did you used to be a spooky boy and you've aged out of spooky boyism?
I wouldn't say I was ever a spooky boy, but I think I was somebody who would watch anything. Right? I wasn't like a hardcore. Like
did you say you're someone who'd watch Say Anything? You think the movie Say Anything is a horror movie?
He's got that terrifying night scene when he's on the lawn stalking that woman's house. Right?
That's the movie with the boombox, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah,
Anything?
that's the scene.
This is your horror movie. Okay. Okay. So you were a spooky boy for John Cusack.
Yeah, and John Mahoney.
Okay.
John Mahoney and didn't say anything.
I was never like a goth or anything. I feel like those are the true people that are looking forward like all year round to Halloween, stretching it out. Did you do like the midnight Rocky Horror Picture Show ever?
No, I was never. I considered in the early 2000s hitting up for a minute. There was doing the midnight Donnie Darkos in Manhattan.
I haven't seen it. It's too scary for me. I aged out of being a spooky boy before I saw Donnie Darko. Now people are like, you haven't seen Donnie Darko? You got to see it. And I'm like,
that's Noah Wiley's finest moment.
There's a scary rabbit. He plays the rabbit, I assume.
He plays an English teacher, I think.
Okay.
Maybe a math teacher.
I know nothing about the movie. Nothing about it. And it's become a major cultural touchstone. I'm you know what? After we're done, I'm going to read the Wikipedia article.
I feel like you don't even need to. I think that was one where a couple of years out, like I think in 2022, people are like, Donnie Darko, come on. Like, what were we all thinking? It was kind of like, remember how Garden State at the time wasn't it's like a cute little rom-com, indie rom-com.
That's what
and
fools
then,
thought.
And now
fools were
everybody's
sucked in by
like,
Garden State.
"You fucking asshole! You like that
Oh
movie?"
my god, that was a really depressing experience for me, going to see Garden State with friends who loved it and just being like, "My friends are morons."
Yeah,
my friends.
It's not a Shins guy.
It makes me sound like that makes me sound like a Philistine. It wasn't like a huge thing going to the movie theater, but like I maybe was watching it with a friend who'd already seen it and liked it, and I was just like, I don't know. There's that one thing in the trailer where like he drives away from the gas station and then like he looks back at his car and the gas nozzle is still in his car after he's driven away from the gas station, and that was like the big moment in the trailer. And like after I watched the movie, I was like, that was the one. That part was good. That one part in the trailer where he drove away from the gas station and then the gas nozzle was still in his. It's a
good comedic set piece.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything else about that movie.
Yeah, well,
his shirt matched the wallpaper at one point. As I mean,
there's become the meme. It just has that one meme that's like, what is it like? Listen to this; it'll change your life. Mm-hmm. But I don't think people look at that kindly. The movie anymore. No.
Good use of the song, as I recall, "The Only Living Boy in New York." But I don't.
Yeah,
I don't recall.
It had a good soundtrack. And I think it did make... That was not a highly rated Simon & Garfunkel song, Only Living Boy in New York, but it's coming back around. People like it now.
I like it.
Maybe it was that movie.
I think it was. So
frankly,
maybe it's time for an Andrew reevaluation of Garden State.
Pretty spooky song, if you ask me. Only Living Boy in New York.
I know.
Reminds me of the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. That's a pretty spooky movie.
That's a pretty spooky movie.
Might be the last scary movie I watched.
Not a bad movie. Beefed it in the third act, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So you're not like a Halloween guy. Have you ever? You're probably too old for this. Have you ever owned any Nightmare Before Christmas merch in any way?
I don't think I have ever owned any Nightmare Before Christmas merch. What Nightmare Before Christmas merch are you sporting?
I don't know, just anything at like Hot Topic. You know how like they're year-round like Jack Skellington people who are just like, yeah, this is my guy, and then like October rolls around and they're like, all right, now it's my time to shine. Check out my many Jack Skellington tattoos.
And it's a confusing movie because is it a Christmas movie or is it a Halloween movie? Maybe you start wearing those shirts at Christmas and that person is wearing them through Halloween.
Exactly.
And then they just aren't wearing them for November until like Thanksgiving. But then Christmas starts again the day after Thanksgiving.
Exactly. So it's
only 3 weeks
November.
off, yeah.
They have to, that's when they wear their like Jack Sparrow shirts. Captain Jack Sparrow. Skellington to Sparrow. It's Sparrow season. Then you have your pumpkin pie.
Is that shirt a shirt with Jack Sparrow on it, or is it like a Jack Sparrow style blouse and they're wearing the wig and the red bandana?
Oh no, I'm thinking it's a t-shirt, a black t-shirt with a very, very large close-up picture of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Okay, a Hot Topic t-shirt and not a Jack Sparrow cosplay, which might actually be reserved for the night itself that we're talking about, Halloween night. Go as Jack Sparrow.
Bring it all back. Yeah, so you're Skellington, and you can still be Skellington on Halloween by default, but also you're zhuzhing it up with a your Skellington isn't a costume, it's a way of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. So you can still be, you don't have to be wearing your t-shirt to be living the Skellington lifestyle, which is Halloween above all else.
Yeah, I would say that I'm very much not a Skellington person. I'm a person who generally, like, if I'm thinking about my Halloween costume more than 1 to 2 weeks in advance of Halloween, I'm like, wow, I really worked hard this year.
Right. You got anything in the work? I mean, I guess it's a full month out. You got anything in the works?
Last year, I felt like I had a pretty good Halloween costume. This was really disheartening for me. And then it was mocked by people at the party I was at. I was like, finally, I have a really good Halloween costume. And then people were like, whoa, like the really last minute, huh? And I was like, No.
Do you mind if I
weren't you
ask?
from- Well, it was there.
It was well.
Do you remember?
Was it a pun question? A
No,
pun?
it wasn't a pun. There's a really big dog costume festival here in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you let people know that your neighborhood is the Timothy neighborhood. And my in-laws have a dog, and they decided to dress the dog up for their for the big like neighborhood Halloween parade. And he was a astronaut, or he was
That's
a
a good
spaceship
dog costume.
He was a spaceship, and then my
he's the
wife
ship
was an
itself.
astronaut. My in-laws made all the costumes, but they were too ashamed to be involved. Where my wife and I did none of the work, but weren't too ashamed to go on stage with the dog.
Okay.
This is a stage in front of hundreds of people.
I know. And it's a circuit too. Like they.
Yeah,
right?
there's judging. The city councilwoman was there.
Right.
Important
work.
Yeah. So Buzz is in the spaceship. Casey was an astronaut, and I was the moon. And I'd cut out these two big round white pieces of I don't know what's thicker than poster board, but like poster board that you buy at an art store. I can't remember. I don't know. And maybe if you know what? This wasn't my fault. I'd purchased like a big moon thing that was like really going to look like a map of the moon. Mm-hmm. And then like 2 days before Halloween, I emailed the guy and was like, "Hey, where's my moon?" And he was like, "I'm so sorry. I did not ship it. Here's a refund." So I was kind of like, I was kind of behind the 8 ball. I went to this party with this huge cutout poster board thing, but it's thicker than poster board. So it's like with kind of like the ribbing inside.
Yeah,
it's really
yeah,
stiff.
yeah.
I can't remember what that's called. Like I'm bumping into people at the party. I can't stop bumping into people. The host of the party is like, I love it when people come to Halloween parties with, like huge costumes like yours that just make other people uncomfortable. I'm like, you love that? But you know what? Like people made fun of my moon costume, but where it came back around and all of a sudden my costume was amazing was in all the photographs of the party. Because everyone had their flash on. And because that white poster board material was so reflective, you like could not see me. The photos were of like Casey and this big white orb like a moon. And I was like barely there. And it was like, I hadn't thought about the photographic outcomes of wearing a huge, basically like what is like a huge film, like a bounce screen that you'd have like on a film set.
So when you said earlier that you were like planning yours for weeks,
that was I was ordering it from Amazon 10 days in advance, and then it wasn't showing up 2 days in advance. That's my version of planning a Halloween costume,
right?
yes.
And you were being dunked on not for the concept, but for the execution. And by your own admission, you pulled that together in 24 hours?
Yeah.
So
I went.
For all intents and purposes, like I could be like, oh, you know what I'm going to be, and then insert something elaborate here, Captain Jack Sparrow, right? Okay. And look, we're 30 days away from Halloween, and then if I wake up October 31st before and be like, oh, I'm just going to pull whatever blouse I have and whatever scarves I have and whatever big round earrings I have, then people would be like, oh, you didn't put a lot of effort into it. And I couldn't say, like, how dare you? I've been planning this since October 1st.
Because you still pulled everything together morning of.
Yeah.
Afternoon of even. I mean, that's what makes Captain Jack Sparrow one of the greatest Halloween costumes of all time. Not like a good Halloween costume, but I guess like the most seen Halloween costume is it's like 100% a costume you can assemble from your girlfriend's or wife's closet. You're just like, I need a white open blouse. I need like maybe a black pair of jeans and a wig, I guess. You're done.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I don't know. That's why those movies are so beloved. Because everybody can pull it together.
Yes, that's why each one of those movies is very good.
Everything about all of them are beloved by everybody.
Yeah.
Andrew, let's pivot to the topic at hand here.
Okay, I'm ready. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just the guest host, Tim. But I didn't ask what was your last Halloween costume.
Ooh, I don't know that I've dressed up in a very long time.
Wow, how the tables have turned. You're not a Halloween boy.
Oh, I'm not a Halloween boy. I put my heart and soul into Halloween month on the Complete Guide to Everything.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was shocked. No shade here. I was shocked. Andrew was at a freaking Halloween party in October of 2021. I remember the Delta variant being running rampant, or the beginning of the Omicron. So I was surprised. I was just like, I'd love to go to a Halloween party. I don't think I've been invited to a Halloween party, not because of COVID. I think probably since 2013. It's tough also for. Do you sympathize here, like for a bearded person? Like it's hard to be like a pop culture figure who's not like famously bearded.
I will say that what I saw is the most. I mean, you're already ragging on me for going to a Halloween party in the era of COVID.
I'm not ragging on you. I'm impressed.
You're impressed, or I mean,
I'm more like, hey,
the sense of
what
pride
party
I
was
feel,
this, and why wasn't I invited?
I mean, I don't feel great about going to parties at all anymore. But
No,
this
I like
party was
parties.
in the West Village. It was very crowded. That's like the most popular neighborhood in New York City for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of bars that have parties there. The Halloween parade is there in New York City, and I'm pretty sure this character has a beard. The character who, like, every fourth man was dressed up as last year, and great news, beard. Also, great news, extremely low effort, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
So many Ted Lassos, just like a tracksuit, a visor, kind of like an attitude. But Ted Lasso has a beard, right? And you've got to convince
He's got a mustache.
Yeah, and you've got to convince your girlfriend or wife to dress up as like one of the 2 or 3 hot lady characters.
Right. Which, not an issue.
It's Halloween.
It's Halloween. People are prepped to dress up in a costume.
Yes.
So it's just, I'm always asking my wife, dress up like this hot lady, please. Even not on Halloween. I get slapped a lot. I get hit with a big old frying pan sometimes. Yeah, like in the comics.
Yeah, when your wife's been working all day to bake a pie, and you're out mowing the lawn. You just sneak over to the windowsill to taste your wife's pies. Clank.
I don't know what your dynamic, my household dynamic is like. Speaking of newspaper comics, which we will be, the Lockhorns. Do you know the Lockhorns? Have you ever seen this? It's a one-panel strip of this. It's a one-panel comic of, I guess, a middle-aged couple that just fucking hate each other. They're just mean to each other. So Loretta and I don't know, some lazy husband, and it's just one panel of, every day you open up the newspaper, and it's either him ragging on her cooking or her saying that he doesn't make enough money in like terrible ways.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Did she hit him
we get a snapshot of a real unhappy marriage here.
Did she hit him with a frying pan sometimes?
Yeah, there's stuff like that. Yeah,
I mean, people die that way.
Rolling pin. I think a rolling pin more often.
That's a murder weapon sometimes. You just the frying pan's right there. You hit someone in the heat of the moment with a frying pan, they're dead. That's heavy. Yeah.
You know what I learned? If I don't want this to come back to haunt me, but if I ever had to murder somebody,
but if there was gonna be a month for you to be haunted, this is it. Halloween month.
Yeah. What I learned from an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents that I saw once on Nick at Night. You want to murder somebody? Get a leg of lamb, freeze it, bam, and then eat the leg of lamb.
The most important part, if I recall, all of my relatives of a certain generation have recounted this episode to me. I've never seen the episode, but the most important part is not that you eat the leg of lamb, is that you feed it to the cop who's investigating.
Oh,
for the
yeah,
murder.
exactly.
And then at the very end of the episode, the cop says, "I don't know, but I feel like the answer is right underneath our noses. Cut to black. Because it's the lamb. The lamb is right underneath their nose.
Yeah, no, I get it.
They're eating it.
I'm amazed that this has been recounted to you by other people, and mostly older relatives of yours.
My aunt really liked that episode.
Gen Z friends and neighbors.
You were watching on Nick at Night. My aunt was probably watching it OG, Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah.
This is actually really solving a mystery for me, because I thought it was an episode of Columbo, and I've been watching Columbo, and I'm like, where's that fucking Leg of Lamb episode?
You're watching Columbo?
We're watching Columbo. I started. It was hard. It was a hard sell for my family. I got into it, but like, how many episodes I really watched? 2 or 3. It's like how exciting can Columbo be? It was made in the 1970s and 80s.
You know what? It coasts completely on Peter Falk's charisma.
Yeah.
And guess what? Plentiful charisma.
But we live in a world where the Jason Bourne movies have been made, and we want the shaky cam, and we want the editing, and we want the special effects.
Not me. I want to sit, and I want to know who did it, who done it, as it were, within the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was Columbo's thing. You know that in other shows you don't know who did it. In Columbo, you know who did it right at the beginning, before you even see Columbo.
Yeah. And then you think, oh no, he doesn't have any clue what's going on. Guess what? He's playing dumb. I think we could all learn a lot. I need to learn from Columbo. I'm always showing my whole hand at all times. Could read me like a book. I'm afraid of looking dumb. Columbo is just like, it's an advantage looking dumb.
Well, I gotta run, Tim, but just one more thing. Tell me about that frying pan you have hanging up on the wall.
Andrew, enough beating around the bush. We are both either former spooky boys or not spooky boys. Nobody cares. Everybody's here for that Peanuts action. We want Linus. We want Lucy. We want freaking Charlie Brown.
I'm obsessed with the Peanuts. I'm 100% obsessed with the Peanuts. I've read a lot of Peanuts books. I read them on the daily when Schultz was still cranking them out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of proud. I'm kind of proud, kind of embarrassed to admit that I've been in stage production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Ooh, did I know this about you? I think I probably didn't. Who'd you play? Let me guess. Schroeder. Was Schroeder in it?
Schroeder is one of the 6 characters. That's one of the 6 characters. I was Linus.
You were Linus.
Linus.
Man, the believer in the Great Pumpkin himself.
The believer in the Great Pumpkin himself. I don't think there's any Great Pumpkin action in the stage musical that I recall.
No, not
He's
that
more
I'm
focused
aware of.
on. I mean, like, you don't have as much time to get into that. You just focus on Linus's main thing, which is his blanket.
Right.
Just deal with that in the stage musical.
Right. The only thing I know about that is the title song, I guess.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
You're the kind of
toe tapper
we need.
Yeah.
Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
The thing is, that sentiment is never expressed in any of the television specials, or ever really in the comic strip at all, right?
If you were to watch the television specials without the title, you'd be like, wow, I love this comic strip about this really nice kid, Linus.
Right?
Like in the Christmas one, Linus has that moment where he like does the reading from the book of Luke about Jesus with the Christmas tree. And it's like, even if you're not religious, like it will bring a tear to your eye, just like how beautifully directed and acted that moment is. Like here, like this whole thing is about like Charlie Brown's getting rocks and missing his football kick as usual.
Right.
Linus is like, we must have what's the word he keeps using? We must have the most sincere pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
There's no hypocrisy here. If you were to watch that, you'd be like, the title of this is Linus goddamn fucking loves pumpkins.
He does fucking love pumpkins. And also, like, look, just want to skip to. We're gonna go through the plot synopsis because I don't think everybody listening probably watched it the way that we did. It's classified as a movie, but it's 25 minutes long.
No, it's a TV special.
Right. But at the end, Linus should be, down in the dumps. Sally, freaking loses it on him. And he's always just, everything's rolling off his back. He's keeping everything in perspective. A nice little boy, that Linus.
Yeah. And that's such a sweet moment, Lucy's been such a terrible person the whole show, just like she always is.
Yep.
But she's the one who carries Linus back to bed. It's very, very,
What's
very
Lucy's
sweet.
deal?
Huh. What is her deal? I've never thought of it that, frankly, honestly. I always kind of considered her to be a fictional character, just a mean person that had been created by an author as a foil, but I'd never really stepped back and thought, what's her fucking deal?
Right?
Why doesn't she chill out?
I mean, I guess you answered the question. We do see a redeeming moment when she goes out at 4 a.m. and carries Linus in from the pumpkin patch and tucks him into bed.
Sweet Linus.
But god damn, what a miserable person. She grew up to be somebody that you see at a Target, raising a stink, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she works at the Social Security office, and she gets mad at you when you show up without the right documents.
Yeah.
Not that that's happened to me recently. Tim, did this movie hit any differently for you think, now that you have had a child?
I don't think so. I watched the first few minutes with my child. We try not to, he's still young for TV. He really liked, Vince Guaraldi? Is that his
Yes.
name? He likes the song Linus and Lucy, and who doesn't?
Yeah, that song rules.
So he pepped up when that was there.
Did he do the little dance that Charlie Brown does, where he goes? So it's he does his shoulders and does his feet.
You're doing shoulders and feet. No, he didn't do that dance. He was sitting on my lap. He did. He clapped his hands.
The correct dance, Tim.
It's just... you're doing the wrong dance. Stage parent. I taught you the Peanuts dance. Your head goes. You look at the ceiling. Your feet go akimbo. Is that right? Right, your feet. Your toes are
100% akimbo.
Yeah. And then you just you start kicking. Start kicking out. No, he did. But he got tired of it. I think he liked the vibe. I liked the vibe. It's a real melancholy vibe.
It is just a vibe piece. The piece is about the vibes, and I admit, I have a young daughter who is too young to appreciate this, but I have a niece and 2 nephews that I spend a lot of time with who are presumably in the pocket for the age group that this was created for, and whenever it was made. What was it made in?
66.
66?
Yeah.
Presumably in 1966, they were we're making this for 7-year-olds, which is what my nephews are. It's very hard for me to imagine my 7-year-olds enjoying this because children's media does not have the space anymore. Nothing made for kids is paced this slowly and this weirdly anymore.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, but I wish we could all get behind it. I wish 7-year-olds could just chill out and be like, hey, guess what? Just gonna watch this mood piece about a bunch of weird kids. Can I read some 1-star ratings from Amazon.com?
I'd love that.
And tell me your thoughts, because this comes from Joy. Yeah, entitled Poor Role Modeling. Wow, in the first 3 minutes, Charlie Brown uses the word stupid to describe himself and tells a friend that you just want me to kill myself. Not for my kids. We stopped it right there. Life is too short and too full of wonderful things to waste time filling innocent little minds with this quote-unquote classic trash.
Classic trash, Charlie Brown.
Dan writes, terrible messaging, just a bunch of bullies. Thought this would be a nice family movie that we could watch with our 4-year-old daughter. My wife and I were both shocked when we started watching it. Absolutely shocked. Very little, if any, redeeming messages. Just a bunch of kids bullying each other. The humor in it is half decent for little kids and sometimes funny for adults. But I still can't believe how mean and nasty most of these kids are. It's terrible messaging, and I don't recommend this to anyone with children. Stick with Curious George. That freaking precocious monkey.
Oh, man. Did any of the 1-star reviews address that approximately 15% of the piece is a World War I movie?
No. Which that would be that's the knock for me. Look, I'm sorry. The World War I flying ace in search of the Red Baron is not
and
doing it.
Then he's shot down in France, and you're like, man, France has been ruined. You see the horror. You don't really see the horrors of war, but you kind of see the horrors of war. You're like the granddads and dads who are like Korean War and World War II veterans who were watching this on Halloween with their kids. Like, they might have gotten sent back a little too much. You know, it's like the blasted out French countryside was a little too real for me.
I thought it was also funny in the middle of that. Not that the blasted out French countryside it's funny. I thought it was funny how in the middle of that sequence they had to have a Charlie Brown voiceover to remind everybody that this was like a Peanuts thing, because like as this dog dressed up as a World War I flying ace that got shot down is wandering, like they had to be like, and now the dog who is imagining himself as a World War I flying ace pretends to be wandering the French countryside or something.
That's gotta be a last minute studio note, right?
Yeah.
Like they turned that in and the studio was like, could we mention that this is an imagination part for the kids?
Because this part's been going on for what feels like 15 minutes in the middle of like, we thought we were getting jack-o'-lanterns and trick-or-treating.
I was like, this part, it was surprisingly close to the movie 1917 for me.
Oh, really?
I was like, wow, this is I wasn't in World War One, so I can't be sent back
you're
to
being
the
modest.
PTSD
You were in
of
World War One.
I was just sent back to the PTSD of watching the movie 1917, which I didn't really like.
Why? Because it's too much like a video game? That's what I heard. I didn't see the film.
Yes, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like it was too much like a video game.
Yeah.
I even had a specific joke about that. There's that scene where they get like a cup of milk, and then like later he saves a baby with his cup of milk that he's gotten.
Oh,
and it was
in
like,
his satchel, or something. Yeah, like
and
he opened up
this is the second time the guy beat the game. The first time he didn't do the save the French baby side quest. He saved all the troops, but was like, oh, I gotta go back and play the game again to get the milk at the milk farm and give the milk to the French baby. It just, it felt like a side quest to me.
Well, I'm glad I didn't see that movie. Glad I didn't watch it.
I'm also glad you didn't watch it.
I watched 1941 one time, and I was like, I'm done watching movies with that are named after years. I didn't enjoy this.
Is that good? Should I watch it?
I never actually saw it. I was gonna go through all the Spielbergs, and then I didn't want to watch the first one.
There was a 1941 video game at a watering hole in my hometown.
Wait, based on the film?
Based on the film. And I would play it.
The only Spielberg flop that exists?
And I think my dad explained to me, like, oh, yeah, this is a video game based on, like the movie 1941, that, like, the same guy that made E.T. and he made Indiana Jones. And I was like, wow, so this movie must be really good. And my dad was just like, no, it's not. Actually, the exact same conversation we had about the Traveling Wilburys.
Exactly. You told me that another time where he explained to you who was in the Traveling Wilburys.
The 4 greatest rock and rollers ever are in the same band. 5 greatest rock and rollers. That must be the greatest band ever, Dad. No, they're
okay. Fine.
They got one or two good songs.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the Charlie Brown Halloween? Tim, was there one of the many subplots that really pulled at your heartstrings, or maybe you want to give it a 1-star review?
No. I like the vignettes. I do understand, like, when Charlie Brown says to Lucy with the football, and this is the first time it's portrayed in animated. This is the third Peanuts special. The first one was the Christmas special. And then they did one about sports, like You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown, or something.
Okay. And they didn't do the football in that?
They didn't. This was the first time.
Because they wanted to portray good sportsmanship.
Yeah, I guess so. So the Lucy with the football, I think, like, only because it's been memed so much, and it's such a good metaphor for so many things in modern life. I enjoyed that, and I thought a lot. There were a lot of, like, little vignettes here, and I was just like, oh yeah, they're essentially like freaking comic strips. Like, this is written by Charles Schulz. I'm not sure how much of this was actually lifted from the comic strips.
Right.
But all right, here's what hit for me. First thing,
like Lucy at the end of that whole vignette saying, like, it wasn't notarized. Like, that's a Sunday afternoon punchline of of a football thing.
Exactly. She gave him a signed contract stating that she wouldn't pull it away. She pulls it away, falls on his ass. The contract floats into her hand. She said, funny thing about this contract, it's never notarized.
There's at least one 1-star Amazon review, right? That's like, this is going great. My kids adored it. And then the punchline was about something being notarized. My kids did not get that.
I mean, that's this whole, the punchline for Sally leaving Linus is, I demand restitution, right? Like, it's like, all right, 2 things. Number 1, how do you feel about the casting of children to voice the children instead of adult voice actors to do kid voices? A la like the Muppet Babies.
I think it's so gorgeous. I think they do a brilliant job. And in both this and the Christmas special that I've seen 4 or 5 times, it's just, it's so heartwarming to me and real. And, like, I don't know, even those parents, like no part of me while I was watching this was like, this is bad for Charlie Brown to say he wants to kill himself. No part of my mind thought of that. Maybe I will think about that when my child is 5 years old. But just, like, the pathos of the kid actor, and, like, the pathos of, like, a kid will say that to themselves. Like, kids feel bad. People feel bad about themselves. Like, it hits for me.
Yeah, I like it. Sometimes it does feel like it's a 3rd grader reading a report, and it's very rote, but I think that's also charming, you know, like, charming. And the number 2 is like, how do you feel about the fact that the dialogue is not true to the vocabulary of, what are they supposed to be, like 8-year-olds? Yeah,
Linus is always talking about the sincere pumpkin patch, and he's talking about that he doesn't want any hypocrisy and the restitution. I mean, that's the charm of Peanuts. The charm of like I would go to visit my grandparents, and they had, like, whole books that were like the wisdom of Linus, that were, like, you know, strips where Linus is very wise, and like some of these were just, like, kind of more pop books, and some of them were, like, religious books that my grandparents had purchased about, like, I don't know, sometimes Peanuts would get kind of in a religious mode, and it's like,
Charles Schulz, very religious man.
Yeah, Linus was dropping some really major wisdom nuggets in there, and, like, it was anachronistic isn't the right word, but, like, what made it beautiful and strange is that this is the wisest of the Peanuts is the one who's dragging around his security blanket. He's presumably the one in need of the most wisdom if he has a security blanket, but he's dropping the nuggets. You know, interesting fact about Charles Schulz that I happen to know, Tim, do you know that he was the biggest? I didn't know he was religious, but he was very religious.
Yeah.
He
was associated, I want to say, with, like, Billy Graham in certain way, like was, like, maybe wrote speeches for him or something. Like, like in his early days.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Near where I grew up is the national. It is not well known that this memorial exists, but near where I grew up is the National D-Day Memorial.
Okay.
And it was created, I believe, mostly, maybe entirely with private funds. There must have been some government funds, but there were a lot of private funds involved in making it. And it was put in this really small town in Virginia. I'm pretty sure it's in Bedford, Virginia, because this is awful. The highest percentage of people from a town to die in D-Day was Bedford.
Wow.
Just like a ton of people from Bedford were in the companies that fought on D-Day, and a lot of them died. And the biggest donor was Charles Schultz. Charles Schultz just like heard about it somehow, and he was just gave a shit ton of money to the D-Day Memorial.
Seems like a good dude.
Yeah, he seems like a great dude. I think didn't he own an ice skating rink in California? Because he was just so rich, he was like, I should have an ice skating rink.
I have this biography of Charles Schultz that I was drunk at a friend's house years ago. And as I was leaving, I was like, you read that Charles Schultz biography? He's like, yeah, it's really good. I was like, I'm going to take that. And he's like, all right, let's bring it back. And I was like, all right, this is like 2013. I took it, and then I never read it because I wasn't all that interested. I was drunk.
We'll go back to the glossary, see if there's an entry for ice skating rink.
There we go. There is some stuff about
there's a lot of ice skating in Peanuts, and I feel like it was just his hobby, and he was just like, I'm fucking rich as hell selling Charlie Brown bobbleheads.
Oh my gosh.
On an ice skating rink.
Yeah. Ice skating. See also Redwood Empire Ice Arena. Well, let's go there.
Yeah.
I would assume that's the, oh my gosh, yeah, building of children, community, yeah. Marital discord during building of yeah, he's a big ice skater apparently, judging by the index of this Charles Schultz biography.
Which I assumed you had read before, like you read it 2 days before the recording of this podcast, but rather you're just brandishing it
I looked
as
up
a brag
Great
that you
Pumpkin
haven't read it.
in the index. All right, so the main through line for this, right, is Linus is this little boy with a security blanket, and all the kids are, dressing up, getting ready to go trick-or-treating, and he's like, oh, I'm going to the pumpkin patch, which is like right around the corner from them conveniently.
And Linus is the brother of Lucy, who's always kind of inexplicable. She's the meanest character in all Peanuts.
Yeah.
And he's the sweetest, wisest security blanket needing guy.
Yeah. And so he's like, oh, I believe in the Great Pumpkin, who's like a kind of Santa Claus-like figure for Halloween, right? And the Great Pumpkin will emerge from the pumpkin patch on Halloween night. And what is he? He's like gives toys?
It will emerge from the most sincere pumpkin patch in the world and give toys to all the boys and girls.
Right. And everybody is just fucking ragging on Linus for this. They're like, Linus, you asshole, you dumb shit. And this is why the 1-star reviews were justified, because I didn't think that language was suitable for my child, at least.
It's amazing they got it past the censors in 1966.
Yeah, CBS. This preempted My Three Sons to run, and I don't think anybody ever called anybody. Nobody called little Eddie on My Three Sons a dumb shit for believing in Santa Claus or whatever. But they're ragging on him, and he goes, and then Sally, who is Charlie Brown's younger sister, has a bit of a crush on Linus, and she goes with him, and they forego trick-or-treating to wait for the Great Pumpkin to emerge, even though everybody tells Linus that, this doesn't exist, right?
This kind of like, there's a small little linguistic artifact there that made me think like, this doesn't feel that far away from me because I grew up reading Peanuts, but like, this is an old ass artifact that they kept saying like, let's do tricks or treats. And I was like, man, nobody says tricks or treats anymore. It's been a while since somebody was saying that. Like this came out, what, 60 years ago? This came out almost 60 years ago.
Sheesh. Yeah, I mean, it's old, but it's fine. Can I read? There's very little about this special. There's nothing in this about this special in this biography, this substantial biography of Schultz. But there's a little bit. The Great Pumpkin comes from the strip. There are strips about that. So the theme of questioning and faith, which was central to Schultz's life, had emerged in the strip's Great Pumpkin sequences, where Linus, smart but simple, had gotten ahead of himself in holidays and began to believe that an omnipotent pumpkin would appear on Halloween to serve good little children as Santa Claus did on Christmas. But of course, the Great Pumpkin does not come to lavish toys on all good little children. Linus performs a mitzvah every Halloween, and going to the pumpkin patch to do what he must to be betrayed again. The reader does not discern any radiance of certainty. The worshiper is not a light with enduring faith. He's hopelessly hyped up. Enthusiasm is a more modulated and cheering emotion. Schultz is saying, be careful what you believe. Is it? Do you get that message from that here?
I would say no. And I would say, I also find it, like we're just talking about how Christian and how waspy Charles Schultz is. I find it very unlikely that he ever thought while drawing Linus walking to the pumpkin patch, now this is a mitzvah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, David McCallis might have, the author of this book, Schultz and Peanuts, a biography. From, Harper Publishing.
To me, it's a message of hope, and that when you hope, you're opening yourself up to being a moron in front of the entire world.
Yeah.
And we see that in the last scene when, Linus digs his heels in that the Great Pumpkin is coming the next year. Once again, he's hoping, and once again, he's already preparing, 364 days in advance.
When they're sitting at that wall, Andrew, you and I, we live in the same neighborhood. We get together. Can we find a wall that we can sit at and have these conversations? That's cool.
You get those fat elbows, those Peanuts elbows. That the round Peanuts fat elbows. I love those when the elbows are hanging over the wall. Where could we get one of those walls?
I don't know. Let's find a wall. There's got to be a wall somewhere in the neighborhood.
They might have those pigeon sticks on them, the pigeon nails to keep pigeons from it. That would keep our fat, chubby, baby fat elbows off the wall too. Yeah.
I got some real baby fat. The other mention of the Great Pumpkin in this, and this is a little pointed. In 1965, this is before the TV special.
Okay.
But when he had already written the Great Pumpkin into some strips, a woman wrote Charles Schultz a letter asserting that the Great Pumpkin was sacrilegious. Schultz wrote back saying that he was, quote, basically on her side, that the real sacrilege is Santa Claus, and that he had been trying to show this in the Great Pumpkin strips.
Yeah, that's what the Great Pumpkin is.
Right.
I mean, it's like, he's so, first of all, that lady's dumb as a rock. Because
wait, also, you gotta write to the guy that writes that draws cartoons. It's fine.
All of the other only one kid thinks that the Great Pumpkin is coming, and all the other kids are like, "You're a moron."
Yeah.
That's.
Everybody's saying "fuck you," Linus, right to his face.
Yeah, like the author of the strip, and even most of the characters of the strip know the Great Pumpkin does not exist, right. And it is kind of like a. Yeah, it's like a very, I don't know, a lot of really conservative churches do not, really conservative Christian churches do not celebrate Christmas in America.
Right.
Like if you're, Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate Christmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or there's some other denominations that are just why would you lie to your kid about Santa? Because then if you lie to your kid about Santa, when they find out,
That's what happened to me. That's what
you're
happened to me.
lying,
And the
then
whole
they're
thing
gonna
was
be
like,
wait, are you lying about Jesus too?
the whole thing was like, all right, I'm on to you. So it's all
Yeah,
okay.
it's like
that's cute.
as a child, you're like, yeah, the Holy Trinity: Jesus, God, Santa.
Right.
You pull Santa out, try to put in the Holy Spirit.
Never
it's not gonna
never
work
clear
anymore.
what that even was.
Yeah.
To this day,
It still wasn't clear to the apostles either when they were up there in the higher room during Pentecost. Tim, let me tell you.
All right. Well, I've been told.
Sorry, I went to youth group a lot. Sorry, I went to a lot of youth group. It seems pretty clear that, I don't know, if you dig into the Great Pumpkin, it seems pretty clear that it's making fun of a lot of the Santa stuff. It rises up from the pumpkin patch. It rises up from the North Pole. It gives toys to every child on Earth.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't track. That lady's funny.
2 great jokes. Number 1 opens with a fantastic joke. Linus and Lucy plays do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Who emerges from the house? Freaking Linus and Lucy. Awesome. Off to a great start.
Okay.
Walk into the pumpkin patch.
Okay.
Linus is looking, oh, how about this pumpkin? Lucy's like, nah. How about this pumpkin? Nah. Gets this huge freaking pumpkin. Bring it back to the house. Lucy goes through a hole in the fence. Linus can't fit through. He has to roll it around. It's this whole thing. And then they get home. Lucy takes out a big knife, which I don't think Lucy should have access to a knife that big. I mean, any of these kids, sure,
60s
but
kids
Lucy,
will know.
but-
60s kids will know.
But Lucy, who's a certified freaking
sociopath,
should not have access to a big knife. Cuts it open and starts scooping out the seeds, and Linus yells. It starts crying and goes, "I didn't know you were gonna kill it." That was great bit.
Just right out of a Sunday strip. Out of a Sunday strip. Perfect punchline.
And the other funniest joke, which Charles Schultz was against doing this 3 times. He didn't want to make it a running joke when they were all out trick-or-treating. It's like, I got a candy bar. I got 35 cents. And then Charlie Brown goes, I got a rock.
That at least one 1-star Amazon review is for that.
Best joke in history. It's diminished. it's diminished by being a running gag. They did it 2 more times, which the producers forced Charles Schultz to do. He knew what he was doing.
You think it should have just been once?
Just once. Because every time I got a rock, it's like, okay, I get it.
What if it was something worse each time?
Yeah, maybe. Like I got
a second time a dog turd. I'm not even going to say what it should be the 3rd time.
Okay.
But you know.
A leg of lamb fed to him by Lucy.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. That he was killed with.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know what one of my favorite parts of it was? When the credits rolled, did you see what one of the main credits was for the folks who worked on the show was? Additional blandishment. You don't see that. You don't see that credit a lot in Hollywood. Additional blandishment.
There wasn't enough blandishment, so they had to bring in some blandishers.
I'm not really sure what it is. I think maybe it's just a joke about animating.
I don't know.
But maybe, I mean, like, what isn't blandishment on a film set? Everything is blandishing.
Yeah.
You're just blandishing up the picture.
I mean, the 60s really were weird. Maybe it was a real thing. This is before, like, a lot of, I don't know, unionization in the film industry. I don't know. They just credit you with whatever. It's like, write your name down. Well, don't worry, we'll put you in the credits somewhere. I don't know. Hey, I'm spitballing here. The other thing, all right, so they cut to freaking Snoopy fly for 15 freaking minutes flying around on his doghouse, and then Schroeder, they get Schroeder, and I like Schroeder, he's the piano playing boy. Then he just plays World War I songs while Snoopy dances for like another 5 minutes.
Extremely missed opportunity to not get to one of the hearts of Peanuts, most important stories, which is Lucy having a crush on Schroeder. Like every you're going to get through 26 minutes of this, and we're going to see bombed out France and not Lucy trying to kiss Schroeder?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Foolish.
I don't know.
I mean, every special doesn't need to have every storyline represented, but yeah. He was dancing, and like then he got sad when he played a sad song, and then got perked up when he played a happy song. It's like we get it.
The one
ahead.
other joke I could have lost, you know what? I feel bad for this kid. That's probably what Charles Schultz wants. But does Pigpen always have to be so dirty?
I mean,
Pigpen shows up in his ghost costume, and he's so dirty.
His name is Pigpen, Andrew. I think he does always have to be so dirty.
Even through his ghost costume, he's so dirty and smelly that everyone's like, "Hey, Pigpen." He's like, "How do you know who I was?"
I know, and he was so hopeful. He's like, "Nobody will ever recognize me here," and it's just like, he was leaving his house. He's like, this is great. This is the one time they're not going to comment on, like, oh, here comes that dirty kid. Because they're not going to know. I'm going to have a sheet over me.
Poor, I felt bad for Pigpen.
All right. I watched a little making of documentary, and one of the producers was like, Sally. The voice of Sally, a sweet little girl. I forget her name. Kathy Steinberg. Kathy Steinberg was great. Her mother calls me. She done most of her lines. Her mother called me. She's got a loose tooth, and if she loses that tooth, I know she's gonna have a lisp, and she's gonna ruin the whole picture. The whole picture is gonna be garbage. So they called the recording studio like late at night at a Sunday night, made this poor little girl do all of her lines before her tooth fell out. And he's like, and on the very last line, her tooth shot out of her mouth, but we got it. And it was a classic performance.
That's a really heads up stage mom performance.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was a stage mom, I wouldn't be a good enough stage mom. I'd just sort of be like, tooth in, tooth out. Who cares? You know, if it's even cuter if she has a lisp. That'd be great. Yeah, exactly. This stage mom was like, I'm going to be giving the producer like updates every half an hour about the state of my kid, and it kept her daughter in the picture. You know?
Yeah, kid stays in the picture. If you like the show, find out more at tcgte.com. Follow us on all the things. That's all at tcgte.com. Tom usually does the plugs, Andrew. Yeah. So the only thing that I really know is go to our Patreon, patreon.com/complete guide. We have a whole thing there. It's Books, the podcast. You get an extra hour episode every week. You get early ad-free stuff. Hey, it's all great. Check that out. Andrew Gregory, plug away.
Well, Tim, if your fans know me, they probably know me from making YouTube videos. My brothers and I made Auto-Tune the News. This summer we made the song It's Corn. You might have heard that on TikTok or YouTube. But because you're listening to a podcast, I'm going to plug my podcast. I've been hosting a podcast with my brother Evan. It's called Punch Up the Jam. Every week we listen to one of the greatest hits in the history of the world. And we talk about the song. We review it. We talk about what we love. We talk about what we hate. And then at the end of it, we make a better version of that song. You've come on twice, Tim. You came on and we talked about an Olivia Rodrigo song that also had some sort of Billy Joel crossover Long Island vibes. And you came on when I was on paternity leave. You did a Beach Boys song,
Get
right?
Around by the Beach Boys. Yeah,
Beach Boys song. Yeah.
Good times.
Fantastic
show.
I listened on paternity leave.
Even if I was never on it, I'd still be listening to it every week. So go check that out.
It's very sweet.
This is embarrassing, Andrew, and I can say this now since we're in the last 2 minutes of the show. I'm glad you're doing this. I appreciate you coming on. I was under the impression that I was booking that corn, the corn kid on the show. The wires got crossed.
The actual corn kid.
Yeah, and you guys did the. I can see what happened there. I reached out to the. Happy to have you here, but I thought,
some people have called It's Corn the song of the summer, but it really should be the song of the fall. It's the fall is the harvest season. You got pumpkins, you've got corn, you've got the spooky month of October.
Yeah,
you should have had.
That's why I was going. That's why
you should have had Tariq on. I don't know if he's seen any scary movies though. He's 7.
Has he seen
The Dentist 2?
maybe?
I pray he never watches The Dentist 2.
Andrew, thank you so much for being on. Go listen to Punch Up the Jam. Go check it. I don't have to tell people to go check out the Gregory brothers, but do it. I don't know.
Well, thanks for having me on, Tim.
Yeah,
it was a real
this was
pleasure.
spooky as hell. This is spookiest fucking episode yet.
Charlie Brown's is so spooky.
See you next week.
Oh, just Tim.
Yeah.
One more thing.
That was a HeadGum podcast.